Hey family, hope all is well with you today. Strat here from Strategic Audio, back with another music production video. Now this morning I had an idea for a melody that eventually became a full composition. I think it's going to be a part of a new soulful loop kit that I'm making. Anyway, that aside, it got me thinking about what goes into making beautiful, soulful, melodic compositions or beautiful soul samples. And so this video is, from my experience and in my opinion, 3 tips for making beautiful soulful melodies. Now if you're into this type of content, please hit that like button and consider subscribing to the channel for more videos like this. Tip number 1, start with a simple melodic backdrop. Find a strong, easy chord progression that can form the basis for a beautiful melody for your composition. As an example, let me use these chords that I made this morning with an upright piano patch from Piano Tech 8. Now I've got a bit of experience playing keys, so the chords automatically have that human feel, which is important. So if you need to go back in and edit the timings and velocities to make it more human, to humanize it, then please do that. Also, the style and the rhythm or cadence that I use for the chords is pretty common to the genre that I am trying to emulate. It's not just straight, boring, sustained chords. However, this is just a simple progression with no more than 3 chords. So here's the basic structure. It begins here on the B flat major 7 and drops down here simply just to the A minor 7. And for the ending, it bounces down to a G minor 7 and then back up to an A minor 7. Basically what I'm saying is start simple but do your best to make it interesting. And you can do that with rhythm or cadence and the feel, the human feel of your progression, especially if you're making something soulful. If you're making something a little bit more, I don't want to say modern, but something that where an electronic vibe is more acceptable, well then you don't have to so much worry about humanizing. But for soulful stuff, you definitely need to have a human vibe. If you start too complex, sonically it becomes crowded and busy, and that limits where you can go. Now don't get me wrong, there's no wrong approach. After all, this is art. I just think that my approach leaves room for more creativity. Tip number 2, when adding melodies, follow the basic rhythm or cadence of your main chord idea. That main chord idea is the backbone of your composition. Take a listen to this live guitar and this flute that I added. The flute comes from Analog Lab, by the way. So these, in my opinion, are melodies that complement the main chord progression. I don't know if I would call them counter melodies necessarily, but I suppose you could if you wanted to. They each have their own distinct melodic character, but generally, they follow the bounce of the main chords. This to me makes them work together well as a single musical unit, rather than competing with each other and making the composition too busy. You always want your end product to be pleasing to the ear, as opposed to being hard to listen to. If it's hard to listen to, then artists can't catch a vibe to write anything, and producers most likely will not want to sample it. Tip number 3, layering and harmony are your friends. I may have said this in a previous video, but adding layers in various instruments to support your main chords is a great way to achieve fullness. A good example is with the vocals, strings, and bass that I added here. The vocals come from Omnisphere, the strings come from Spitfire Audio's BBC Symphony Orchestra, and the bass is one of my favorite sound fonts. This vocal choir kind of patch is literally playing the same thing as the main chords, while the strings are playing a simple harmony to that main chord idea. Neither of them add any additional melody elements or compete with the main chord progression in any major way. The bass now follows the root notes of the main chords, but adds some finesse with these little melodic transition notes that are dotted around here and there. These little bass melodies also add to the authenticity of the composition, gives it that real soul feel. Now this might be a hot take, but in my opinion, the bass, is the part in this composition that makes it a beautiful melody. The tone and bounce and the way the bass blends well with the chords is so important. And this little ascending melody right here and the notes that bend at the end, this is just classic soul stuff. Then with the addition of these strings and this choir, the sense of melodic beauty, sweetness, in my opinion, just skyrockets. So here now is the final result, the final composition, mixed and mastered. Alright family, well, thanks so much for watching. Once again, let me know in the comments what you think of this composition. Now if you enjoyed the video and perhaps even learned something, then please drop the video a like and consider subscribing to the channel. Peace and love, and I'll see you in the next video.